This one time I experienced being emotionally drunk, and I have not experienced that since this one time. As you know, as part of my story, I got into a relationship in early recovery, and we broke up like 4 times until by the 4th time we actually broke up, and 2 kids later. So messy, messy, messy. And this one time though, we broke up, and we had been fighting and fighting about having kids, and like it was a big deal for me to have kids. Like I've always wanted kids. I wanted a family. I was obsessed with this mission to have a family. And that was at the forefront. And it's also one of the reasons why my marriage didn't work out. And so now I find myself in almost a similar situation, just, still really unhealthy and not very safe, but I thought it was better because there wasn't physical abuse happening. So I'm in this other relationship, and it's a lot of work, and I'm not as healthy, and there's a lot of fighting. And this one particular time that we broke up, I was really upset. Like this one was the big one. I think it was our 3rd one. And I had been asking him, we had gotten back together, and because I'm in my 30s and I'm thinking I'm running out of time to have children, it was something that I had brought up right away, that if you're going to date me, like I really want kids. And he kind of hemmed and hawed and like, yeah, okay. And we dated, and then a few years went by, and then I started wanting more commitment, wanted to settle down, wanted to move to the next step, and I had my other boys involved. So the pressure started to turn on. I started putting the pressure on. I started wanting answers. I started asking for dates. I basically gave him an ultimatum, and I said, like, I need to know if you're for real or not. And I said, we should start thinking about this or planning this like in the next year. Because I was trying to see, like, is this BS or not? Because something in my gut was kind of telling me that he was saying yes, but something wasn't true. Like something wasn't sitting right with me. And so I said, okay. I said, well, I need to know, like, this was really scary to do and hard to do. I can't even believe I did it. But I said, pick a day, any day in the next year that we're actually going to get serious about this and talk about it and move to that next step. And it was fall. So I gave him the whole next year to come up with, like, okay, we'll start trying it this time, or we'll start trying here, or we'll make a doctor's appointment. Like I wanted to plan for the action. Like what day or time of the year are we going to like sit together and like do this? Like I basically was like, I call BS. So I said, you can even like think about it and get back to me. And we were living together at the time. And he started backpedaling and saying, well, I don't know anymore. I don't know if I want to have kids. And I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you a day. We're not going to start trying on some day or some time. But I think that I needed to have that verbal conversation on like a deadline or some kind of limit I was trying to set up to see how real it was. Like, it's very unromantic to have a planned day that you're going to try. But the point of why I was having that conversation with him, I think, was just to get the truth out, was just to get to, when. And so this was like a tangible way that I could try to get that truth out or make that happen. And, he came back and And I said, yeah, like if you can't give me a day, then I can't be in this relationship anymore. This was after a week went by, and I said, I can't give you any more my time if you're not serious about me and the family and actually following through on what you said. Like, because we started dating again, I said the kid thing was always an issue. And he basically was just like, I can't, like, he was very upset with that I would give him such an ultimatum and would want these strict rules. And so I guess I felt like I was asking too much at the time, and I was trying to get some answers. And, I did get the answer. The answer was that he didn't want to pick a day, any day the next year. And so it was, to me, I was like, okay, then I need to let this relationship go for me. And, that gave me some direction there, which I'm really grateful for. So we break up, and he moves to his dad's house out of town. And it's a big dramatic breakup. And there's lots of tears, and I'm upset. And I got my 2 little boys at the time, and I'm like, not okay. And I was really out of my mind, and I was really unpresent. I remember that. I was in that time of that breakup, I was really emotional and present. And this is before I really learned how to emotionally regulate. So all my emotions were just completely taking over. And I was in real like victim, self-pity mode, blaming. I was really upset, and I'm trying to work because I'm running my business, taking care of my kids. And I'm trying to figure out now how to do this without this other person around, with some of the help that they were doing. And that was always a pull as well. But so I had all this stuff to figure out all at once. I was very overwhelmed, and just also overwhelmed with the loss and the disappointment. I felt betrayed. I just felt like, how could you weren't even going to ever have kids with me. And so I think I was grieving that too. Like, I just felt very duped. But, my gut was telling me that, and I got my answer. So that is a grateful way for that story to have ended. Anyways, the point of my story here is this one time I'm driving on the highway and I'm emotionally drunk. This is the first time that I ever felt emotionally drunk or emotionally impaired. And where they say the relapse starts before the actual act of drinking starts. And if I didn't have my family or a pretty good recovery program at the time, for sure, I probably would have went out and relapsed. But this time, I'm driving on the road, and I'm so not there. Like, it was like I was outside of myself, and all my thoughts are happening. And I'm seeing everything outside, but I was so impaired emotionally. And everywhere but where I was supposed to be, which was driving on the road. And my son, one of my sons, sitting behind me in my painting van, because I used to be a painter, and he's just enjoying his life, like sitting behind me. He's got the window down. He's got his head in the window. And I just remember like just really thinking about my ex and like how, like, just so angry and hurt, and like sitting at that traffic light. And I go to turn left, and it's not a very safe intersection. And I go to turn left, and all of a sudden there's just like this like whoosh, like this like something stopped me. When something stopped me as I'm about to turn left, and I couldn't see anything, but my whole body went to go turn left, and then something happened that stopped me from turning left. And it was like I could see that there was a hand on my chest, but I actually couldn't see a hand. It was like a different vision of a hand. And I was out of control. My body said to turn left and I was turning left, but something else made me not turn left and I stopped. And then the car went by. Someone had ran the light and I didn't see it. And I thought, I don't know what happened, but this car goes by so fast that my hair, while I was sitting at the light, my hair blew by. And I got really scared and shocked because I was like, I almost turned left, but something stopped me. And then when my hair whooshed and I looked back and I felt that car just go by us, like the whole car went like that. And I look at my son who's just got his head like in the window, and I was just thinking like, wow, if something didn't stop me and I went left, I think my son would have died that day, if not myself, maybe my other son. And I got so freaked out because I did make the decision to turn left. And I saw that we were all going to die. And then something happened that stopped us. And then I got freaked out and I basically was like, I'm not okay. I'm not even here. I'm not okay. I'm drunk. Like I might as well be drunk. Like I don't have the booze, but I am so drunk right now. I'm so impaired. I'm emotionally impaired. I don't have a grip. Why do I think I'm doing this? I was so stressed. I had so much anxiety. I was so sad. And I was like, I need help. And what I did is I treated that emotional drunkenness as if I had drank real alcohol. I went home, or I went to my parents' house because I think I was on my way there. And I told them what happened. And I was like, okay, I almost got in a car accident and just about killed us all. Like we should have gotten into a car accident. And somehow got saved that day and we weren't. And so anyways, like it didn't happen, but it shook me enough. Something happened that made us stop. And then I just basically was like, I got to go to a meeting. I got to go to a whole bunch of meetings. And so I just like went to like a meeting every day for like 2 weeks and just got on the phone every single day. Like I kind of I started treating myself like I had a really big wound. I started getting real with myself, being like, I'm not okay. I'm really impacted. I need to slow down. I need to clear my plate. I need to focus on why I'm so sad, why I'm heartbroken. And I basically started opening up the space to grieve and be sad. And then do things to take care of myself, like have more baths, have more friends, like, because I was just continuing my life from this breakup as if the breakup didn't happen, but I wasn't doing anything to take care of myself for that big wound that happened, that big void, that thing that I don't have anymore, that loss. I had the breakup and then I didn't do anything to help myself in my breakup. So I almost have the car accident and lose my son. And then I get to my parents and I say, I need help. I got to a real truth. And then I started to take care of myself in an extreme way. Like I just was like, I really have to help myself here. And so I did everything I could and to mend myself and just do things that were gentle to myself and like, extra friends, extra meetings, and I treated it like a relapse. Like I treated my emotional drunkenness like I had gone out drinking, and I just threw all my recovery at that to get through that breakup. And I did no contact with my ex. I kept everything really separate. I didn't want to see them because I just wanted to heal. I did some painting in my unit, like moved some furniture around, like just did things to like make my environment look a little different. And then I had to make a room for space for that grieving in my life. And so I needed extra love. So, I went and I bought a at that time, I started to crave the color pink. I wanted to be in pink, around pink. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, I need to go to the mall and like, I just need to get a really pink fluffy sweater. And I just like went and found this pink fluffy sweater and I wore it like every day. And then I went and got all pink roses and I cut them all up and I put them around my apartment. And I just did little things to just, more music in the mornings and meditative music. And like, I just did lots of little things to just like uplift myself and make myself feel pretty and loved while I was going through this hard time and going through this breakup. I just started to try to heal myself and talk it out. And, I just do fun things with my boys and just like take things off my plate that I didn't need on my plate at that time. Like extra projects, extra work, and just let myself like have that time and healing space to move through that breakup. And I've not been that emotionally drunk since. Like that was my big emotionally drunk. And I didn't think a person could be emotionally drunk. And this was my experience of going through that. And I mean, it was like I was drunk. Like I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. I was making decisions in a stress and full anxiety. Like I was just like crying here and there, but trying to wrap it up because my priority was to work and get the kids taken care of. But at that time, I didn't make myself a priority when I was going through that relationship loss. And when I did acknowledge that I'm having pain here and I'm hurt and I need to take care of myself, when I started to make that a priority, it helped the rest of my life. Like it helped my work. It helped me to come back to the center, to come back to having some self-control and slow down, to be back into the present moment, because I was way in the future and I was way in my feelings about feeling betrayed and victimy, and I was self-pity and I was so angry and resentful. Like I had a lot of work to do, but I got real with myself, and then I just like all hands on deck. I just like sent a huge message to my family saying, I'm not okay. I need help. If anyone can even just come help with the kids tonight. And I just like let everyone know in my family that like I'm gonna F up. Like I'm gonna go relapse. I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown. And then my whole family like it's not a large family. It's just like some of my immediate showed up and my dad's like, go to a meeting, like you go, and took the kids that night and they bathed them, put them in their PJs. And, I just like dropped everything and like, okay, like more recovery, more things to make me feel loved that I can do to make me feel loved. And then just start grieving that void that happened. And that, it's not turned out the way I wanted it to. I wanted this person to give me, get serious. I wanted something from that person. They weren't able to give it at that time. And I was really upset about that, and so I had to go through all those feelings and really feel them, put sad songs on, like breakup songs. And then I would like make myself cry more just to get all those tears out, like just to really clean them out and get them up to the surface. Like I was triggering my grieving and getting all those feelings up and when I did that, it made it freer. It made it lighter. And I pushed through my healing. I got healed through it. And it's not something that stuck in the back of my mind and kept dragging me down in my life. And, in a few months, it was pretty much resolved, and I was like getting myself back together, and I wasn't putting myself and my kids in an unsafe situation, and I was getting back to the present moment and figuring out like what's good for me right now, like what can I do to help myself, what can I do to love myself, like really putting myself as a priority at that time, and my kids, and just doing little extra things like maybe go to a favorite concert or extra bike rides. Like that really helped me to do that, and it helped me heal. And so it was a really cool experience, and I didn't think it could be emotionally drunk, but that time I sure was. And I probably should have died that day, or my son would have died just because of the way his head was positioned in the window there. It would have just impacted like extremely. It was amazing how fast that car was going. And I think maybe because I wasn't in the moment, I guess I didn't judge the speed of that car coming. And then so I'm out of control. I don't have control over my body. And I'm just thinking I want to go left instead of actually looking at what is actually happening in my reality. Like I didn't even see that car. Like I was impaired, and I wasn't even drinking. I was just emotionally impaired, and we could have died. So it's like, impaired drinking, impaired emotionally. And so it's like totally possible. But that was a life-changing moment, huge moment in my recovery, and just I'm really grateful to be alive today. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for listening. So bye.